Remember, remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder, treason, and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot.
Hello guys, I'm CBMF Productions and welcome back to the DC Imprint Retrospective. Today's film is a dramatic family thriller, A History of Violence. The film is based on a 1997 comic by John Wagner and Vince Locke. It was released by Paradox Press, the same company that would release Road to Perdition a year later. A script for the film adaptation was written by Joss Olson and came across David Cronenberg, who has directed many films from The Fly, Scanners, Naked Lunch, Videodrome, just to name a few. He became interested in directing this and made adjustments to fit more of his style that did stray away from the comic, which he immediately had no idea this was based off a graphic novel until late into pre-production. The film got cast together with the main actor Viggo Mortenson signing on, coming fresh off playing Aragorn in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, along with some other familiar faces. The film was shot, edited, and released in the theaters in 2005, first premiering at the Cannes Film Festival in May, and then getting wide release later in September, about to celebrate its 15th anniversary at the time of its recording. The film's praised from both audiences and critics alike. It was a decent box office hit. The film also got dozens of awards from various film festivals, and was even nominated for a couple of Oscars, for Best Supporting Actor and Best Adapted Screenplay. And the film is still regarded as one of the best comic book movies that come out in the past 15 years or so. But does it still deserve the praise it gets? Well, before we get into that, let's get into the plot. The film revolves around Tom Stahl, played by Viggo Mortenson, a simple family man who owns a diner in the fictional small town of Millbrook, Indiana. He has a loving wife Edie, played by Maria Bello, and he has two kids, older high school son Jack, played by Ashton Holmes, and younger daughter Sarah, played by Heidi Hayes. But his normal life is shattered when one night, when he and his workers are closing, two men enter the restaurant and ask for coffee and pie. Tom politely declines, saying that they are closing, but the older man screams at him and demands his coffee. Then the two men hold Tom and his workers hostage, and in a split second, he murders both of them by smashing a coffee pot into the older man's face, and grabs his gun to shoot the other man multiple times before shooting the older man in the head. These two men were murdering psychopaths as shown in the opening scene of the film, when these men were checking out of a motel, and you see that the family that were running it were killed off screen, and the younger guy, while getting some water, finds a little girl and shoots her off screen. After Tom's heroic event, the media grabs attention of him, and his town praises him for saving his workers, but it comes at a cost. A couple days later, after the incident, a couple of mysterious men in suits walk in, the main guy being Carl Fogarty, played by Ed Harris. He's a mobster from Philadelphia, and wants to talk to Tom, who claims he is Joey Cusack, who is another crazy mobster he knew back in the day, who was good at killing people, and even cut out one of Fogarty's eyes with barbed wire before running away a couple of decades ago. Fogarty is convinced, but Tom says he's got the wrong guy. Carl continues to harass and stalk the Stahl family, being absolutely sure that Tom is Joey. Tom starts to have visions of Fogarty's car driving up to his house and other events that start to drive him a little paranoid. Fogarty also goes to see Edie at the mall when she loses her daughter and once again claims that Tom isn't who he says he is. Edie starts to question a little bit that Fogarty is telling the truth, and questioning does Tom have a rough past, despite still being on Tom's side, and filing a restraining order against Fogarty after the mall incident. While this is going on, Tom's violence starts to affect his son Jack. After getting bullied relentlessly by a jock multiple times throughout the film, he gets into a fight with the jock and his friends and beats the piss out of them, causing him to get suspended. Jack and Tom get into a hasty argument where Tom slaps Jack after he gets sassy with his father. Jack then runs away, only to be caught by Fogarty and his goons. They pull up to the house and ask Tom to go to Philly with them in exchange for his son. Carl decides to let his son go, but Tom causes a shootout, killing Fogarty's goons but gets shot in the shoulder by Carl and is about to blow his brains out before getting shot in the back by Jack with the family shotgun. At the hospital, Tom confesses to Edie that he was Joey at one point in his life and he was part of the mob before he met her, but claims that he killed him a long time ago and that Joey is truly dead. Edie can't handle it and the entire family is shaken by the revelation, with the exception of Edie covering for Tom after the sheriff questions Tom's story and wonders if he is Joey, but Edie lies and claims that Tom is innocent and the sheriff drops the case. Afterwards they have rough sex on the staircase because that's the only way that they can cope with the situation before Edie snaps back to reality and disowns them. Later that night, Joey gets a call from his brother that was referenced early in the film by the sheriff, Richie Cusack, played by William Hurt, who asks Joey to come up to Philly to meet him, and he reluctantly goes to burn his past and type any loose ends once for all. He gets to Philly as one of his goons drives him up to Richie's mansion, as they meet for the first time in decades presumably, as they discuss past stories, talking about how it's been forever since they've seen each other, and how Joey killing Carl has jaded Richie's partnership with his boys in Boston. Joey really doesn't care about that and just wants to make amends, but Richie would rather have one of his goons strangle Joey with some wire, but Joey escapes and kills all of Richie's goons swiftly, before shooting Richie from point blank range in the head. The film ends with Tom returning to Indiana and walking in on his family having dinner, as his daughter makes a plate for him and his son quietly puts food on his plate, as Edie looks up with him, with tears in her eyes, and they both stare at each other, not knowing what the future holds for them as credits roll. This film definitely is a standout amongst all the other comic book movies I've seen. Similar to Road to Perdition, the film succeeds at having a very grim and dark tone that is elevated by the actors, the writing, and the directing. Cronenberg shoots this film with such subtlety which how the actors emote and show their facial expressions, with how the sex scenes are so raw and full of emotion, anger, and passion, and how the violence feels so realistic and brutal, so much so that it does balance the line of feeling different than most action films, but not glorifying it. Not to mention the practical work on display is fantastic, and it feels like you're watching a film directed by the same guy who did The Fly and Videodrome. The acting for the most part is stellar across the board. The main build actors in the film all deliver perfect performances. From Viggo Mortenson playing your average Midwestern dad that can snap at a moment's notice, making every single scene with him tense, because you can see how much he wants to move on from his past life and resents the violence, but has to resort to it when he's put in these fight or flight situations throughout the film. Maria Bello as his wife is also great, at playing someone you believe cares deeply about her husband and her family, and every scene where she emotes anxiety or loving or even sexual ferocity, you believe her all the way through. Ed Harris and William Hurt also do a great job of playing these slimy mobsters with a hint of charm to them that makes them interesting and entertaining to watch, because they both do stand up against Viggo and Bello in their respective scenes. That adds to the winding tension that builds throughout the film excellently. Another major positive is how fast-paced and perfectly timed this film is. At a 95-minute runtime, the film's story flows effortlessly without feeling rushed. You get enough time to develop every single character, to where when stuff starts going wrong, you care about Tom and his family to see if he is Joey or to Fogger to get the wrong man. Most films like this tend to drag on for 2.5 hours, and the fact it moves from the family drama to the violence to the climax so swiftly, it almost feels like a short story, and I think it's the best way to view this film, because of how we, the audience, are viewed as a fly on the wall, in this brief but important time in these people's lives over the course of a week supposedly. The film's themes are also rich and play throughout the story, like how the effects of your past can affect your bloodline, such as Jack taking up the violence that Joey used when he was in the mob. Identity is also a big one, from Tom playing these two very distinct roles excellently, along with his wife also having to be two-faced in multiple scenes in the film. These themes flow in the writing, which the script is excellently written not only from the dialogue, but with how the story plays out in that every single character gets something to do and has their moment. The chemistry between the actors is also very good, with how many standout scenes such as Joey and Richie or Edie and Carl, how they're able to have these characters clash off one another makes every single scene so much more investing and captures your attention. This is not a boring movie, despite it's mostly a family drama, with hints of action because of the underlying suspense writing in the film, and how Cronenberg is able to let tons of shots linger, such as the one-shot opening of the film with the two murderous men riding their car down this motel, or the ending scene. There are a lot of parallels that get called back to in the film, and how Cronenberg frames the camera makes it feel so much more personal and not like a big Hollywood movie, despite the cast production value and the budget. Lastly, the ending to this film is one of my favorite endings in any movie. The way after Joey massacres his brother and his henchmen, and quietly comes back during a family dinner with no dialogue whatsoever, and the actors delivering such good performances by their facial and body language, that's up to the air to you to decide if Tom gets a happy ending or not. And the lack of clearance, which would be a weakness in most films, works here because we get enough information from Joey's past that we can fill in the gaps and that doesn't take away from the film and drives the film's themes home. There isn't much to say in this section, but there are a couple things in this film that do bother me. Mainly is with the kid actors. The older son is fine for the most part, but whenever he tries to go for those big Oscar moments of shutting in his dad, it's where the delivery really doesn't sell me on how angry this character is meant to be on the page. Another issue surrounding him is his plotline. I do like how Tom or Joey's actions affect him, and that shoot scene where he kills Carl is great, but it's mainly with the bully character that he runs into throughout the film that I don't like. The bully is the only part of the film that feels like a movie cliche. With every other actor bringing this very nuanced layered performance, this bully, both from the actor and the writing, feels like a Disney Channel villain dropped into an R-rated family drama, and it doesn't blend in with the film at all. Lastly, although I think the score is good, it does play at inappropriate times throughout the film, and I feel like it weakens some scenes. Mainly with the sex scenes we get in the film feeling so raw, I feel like having no music would have been better than this quiet piano music underlying the scene. And there are a couple other moments throughout the film that I feel like it would have been better if there were no music playing, just to make you feel as uncomfortable as the characters are in this film. Overall, A History of Violence is a fantastic movie, and it's one of the best films to cover in any of these comic book retrospectives. It's a simple yet effective tale that gives you enough to chew on, but enough left open in the air to where you can take this film in so many different ways. The film's layered themes that make the film stronger, held by a great cast, a great writer, and a great director that knows how to make this tale way more unconventional than what you're used to, and asks questions like the morality of our hero. It's not like Suicide Squad or Venom where they try to bullshit you into thinking he's an instant man or an anti-hero. The film has some heavy subject matter that, although it doesn't make the most fun or rewatchable film, it makes you care about what's going on, because of how the story is told and feeling so grounded that you want to see what happens next, and it's extremely memorable. Apart from a couple nitpicks like the bully, the child actors, and the score playing at inappropriate times at points, this is a brilliant film and one that will stick with me for years to come. I give A History of Violence an A 9.5 out of 10, and a must-watch recommendation. So that's The History of Violence. What do you guys think about it? Leave your thoughts down in the comments, and please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. I'm CBMF Productions, and remember, the past can't hurt you anymore unless you let it.